Yo, what's going down, Green Skin Entertainment fans? Your boy Jay Green with my beautiful fiance Rachel. Say what's up to the people.
What's up?
All right, now check it out. It's been a minute since I was doing any type of movie reviews, and I started to think, you know what? I'd rather have a little bit of a conversation. Movies are starting to come back into the theaters, so that's why we're going to start doing these movie reviews, these conversations, if you will, very candid together. And this particular weekend, we had an opportunity to see two films back in the theater. I was super excited. Were you excited, first off and foremost, to go back to the theater?
Very excited.
Hell yeah, date nights back live in effect. So the two movies that we're going to be reviewing for you right now, we're going to give you a little duo, is going to be Cruella and A Quiet Place 2. So we're first going to jump into Cruella. Off the top, what'd you know about the movie? What'd you think about the movie? Let's hear about it.
I didn't know much about the movie. I knew it was Cruella. Obviously, that had to do with 101 Dalmatians. So when I saw the trailer, I was like, I don't know. Is this their like spin on 101 Dalmatians? Like, what is this going to be? But I knew that it looked super good. So I didn't really know what to expect going into it, but I loved it. Loved it.
Yeah, I would definitely say I loved it too. Yeah, the only thing I really knew about it was like Emma Stone was in it. I didn't realize that was Emma Thompson. First of all, I kept trying to place that like
Emma Thompson.
She's like the main villain in the film. You know what I'm saying?
That's her name.
Yeah, it was Emma Thompson. So I didn't really realize it. I try to stay away from trailers. You already know. So I didn't realize that Emma Thompson was in it. But you know, I knew Emma Stone was in it. And anytime she's in a movie, I always feel like she's delivering. Good. So definitely loved it. Do you want to break down a little bit of the basic plot without any major spoilers, just to entice those out there listening?
He's gonna trust me with the plot breakdown. Okay. So basically, it's almost, in a nutshell, because I'm not going to explain it as good as he would, but in a nutshell, it is a prequel in a way to 101 Dalmatians, I guess, if you want to call it that. So it's basically like the story of how Cruella became Cruella and how she evolved from a child to where she is at currently in life.
That's a perfect breakdown. That's exactly what the hell it is. So we're not going to break down any spoilers because we both liked it. So we definitely think that y'all should check it out. But for the most part, like Rachel said, it's from childhood to young adulthood, if you will. We know that Cruella in the 101 Dalmatians is fixated on a coat made out of Dalmatian fur. So she's definitely got a weird sense of fashion, and this movie kind of plays up on that. Mm-hmm. I would definitely say that as I'm watching the film, this movie takes a lot of themes, a lot of looks from other films that we've seen before. But as I've said before, I'm not mad when a movie does that. I just like it to have its own spin, and I thought this movie did that. What were some of the things that you realized from this movie that you said, wait a minute, that seems like it's an awful lot like this other movie over here?
Devil Wears Prada.
Devil Wears Prada is
for sure.
all over this film. All over this film. But I thought as mean as it was Meryl Streep was in that one, right?
Yeah.
I thought as mean as Meryl Streep was in Devil Wears Prada, Emma Thompson is not playing around in this movie. And I never seen her play no evil villain like this.
At least in the Devil Wears Prada, you kind of like Meryl Streep, and she has a heart deep down.
She got a little bit of a redemption.
This one's a little iffy.
There's no
heart.
Redemption, for sure. Another movie that I felt like this movie seemed a lot like it looked a lot like, or reminded me like when I saw the trailer, just a little piece of it, was maybe like a Harley Quinn type, Birds of Prey type swag. Yeah. It has that type of look. It has that type of grunge, that kind of raw grittiness to it. And then Cruella, she's basically Emma Stone's version of a Harley Quinn in a sense, because she's just super nuts and super crazy. If you remember the 101 Dalmatian cartoon animated movie, she was off the chain, and Emma Stone in this film plays her very similar to like Margot Robbie and Harley Quinn. So I definitely felt those vibes. But again, I wasn't mad because it is Cruella. It's not Harley Quinn. There are just some similarities in how crazy they are.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. What'd you think? I always liked the cartoon Horace and Jasper were always hilarious. I liked how they all kind of played off of each other. What'd you think about I don't know the two guys' names that played Horace and Jasper in this one, but that one dude, the bigger dude, I think that was...
The one that was in Richard Jewell.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was playing Horace. He was pretty funny.
He was funny. I felt like it was like the perfect... Some movies definitely try too hard with their jokes, but this was perfect. It was like very subtle humor and like tiny jokes here and there, but they fit perfectly. I thought they were both super good.
Yeah, I will say that that cat, what is his name? Let me look it up real quick. But that guy that was playing Richard Jewell in the movie
Richard Jewell.
Basically, I like that he's not like a Josh Gad type of guy. Where Josh Gad is like, he's a funny dude for sure. He can perform, but he's very like outlandish, very
almost
wild.
like a Will Ferrell-ish type.
Very Will Ferrell, very like old school Chris Farley. Whereas this dude played it like very like kind of clean, very low. He's
like a funny without knowing that he's being funny.
Yeah, very like Michael Scott dry humor type.
Yeah.
He just says those things that you're like, I see what you're doing right there. So I thought that was hella cool, hella legit. One of the things that I felt like this movie had that you might not really think that it would have is a lot of heart. Mm-hmm. When these Disney movies come out and they're kind of like recreating the villain, letting you know a little bit of their backstory, it kind of sucks because it ruins the sinister vibe of the villain. You don't really want to leave like on the villain side, like, oh, I see why they went that way. I see why they turned out the way that they did. But in this film, I feel like you kind of understand where she comes from. And even though you're, in a sense, kind of, you feel for her just a little bit, she still leaves you on the edge with like, yeah, but she about to be fucked up in the future for reals.
Yeah.
So I definitely like that about this movie. I thought this movie looked amazing. I thought for a Disney remake, if you will, a prequel, it was one of the better looking ones out of all the other ones.
I feel like I never saw Maleficent, but it reminded me of maybe what. Did it look similar to Maleficent?
So Maleficent, I mean, it's a completely different film because there's a lot more like fantasy and magic and stuff like this.
Yeah.
So it definitely had like a lot more CGI. This movie, I'm sure it has some CGI in it. The dogs, a lot of the time, the dogs were CGI, which I didn't think they were that bad. Did you notice that?
The Dalmatians were CGI?
I'm pretty sure like...
Those are some pretty cute CGI Dalmatians.
I'm guesstimating at least like 75% of the time the dogs were CGI. At minimum.
You could have fooled me, obviously.
Yeah, so they did a really good job with it, though. But I think, Maleficent was definitely just a way different film. So it's definitely going to have a completely different look to it. I'm trying to look up that cat from Richard Jewell. What was probably that moment in this movie that maybe like hit you the hardest? What was that moment where you're like, oh, damn, I'm really into this shit right now?
I don't know. The whole movie drew me in from like the second it started, but I feel like I don't know if it's the moment that we had talked about before. I don't really know how to.
Paul Walter Hauser is his name. Paul Walter Hauser. This dude he's great. He was in Richard Jewell, killed it in that. I know I've seen him in something else. I just can't remember what it is off the top of my head. But he was awesome.
I can't remember what it was.
Yeah. So the moment that you felt like we both had that same moment, what was it?
There was a part in the movie.
You see it in the trailer, so we're not spoiling anything. But don't give away the entire synopsis of that part, but kind of break down.
It's basically where like I feel like Emma Stone and her character really lets go of her original identity and really like accepts herself as Cruella, and it's almost like Emma Stone doing a monologue. It's very like up close and in her face, and it's like her basically talking to her mother. Is that a spoiler?
I mean,
okay, whatever. She's talking to somebody, and she's basically she digs deep and says like, I don't know.
So basically,
I can't. I'm about to spoil it. I can't summarize.
So basically, you see in the trailer where Emma Stone is like looking deep into the camera. It's got that gritty, grimy look, and she's like, "I am Cruella." Is it Cruella? Cruella, yeah. She's saying, "This is who I am." But as the movie goes on, remember that she's kind of like fighting like an alter ego in a sense. Her name is actually Estella. But because she was like so wild and so mischievous as a child, her mom kind of nicknamed her Cruella.
Right.
So she's fighting that inner demon, if you will, on the inside. But at a certain time in the film, because of some certain things that she finds out, she's like, hey, fuck that shit. This is who the fuck I am.
I'm Cruella.
Right? And she says a whole bunch of stuff more that's very emotional. It's very deep. And it's like a really good bow on the situation, if you will.
Yeah.
Like, because again, there's a lot of like different feelings that she could be having at the time with friends, with her enemy in Emma Thompson's character at the time, with where she's trying to go in her own life, with dealing with situation with her mom, things of this nature. And it all really gets summed up in this one conversation that she's kind of having with herself, if you will.
Yeah.
Again, you got to see the film, be in the moment, but I thought it was really, really great.
Yeah. And that moment really makes you like, you're like, oh, I'm on her side still, even though. And I wonder partly if you end, like you said, it has so much heart and you end up on her side in the end still.
You do.
But part of me wonders if it wasn't Emma Stone playing Cruella, would you still end up on her side? Because Emma Stone just has a way of like, A, you love her already, but B, like she's just such a good actress and she draws you into like all her emotions and she was like as a child and what she felt then, and like she keeps this innocence to her, but then her innocence kind of goes out the window. I don't know. I just feel like maybe if it were somebody different, maybe you wouldn't be on her side as much. You would just be like, this bitch.
I think that that's a really good question, because usually it's like a casting director, you know, a casting person's job to find like the best person that's going to fit that role. Now, given the nature of the character, you have to have someone that can go to those lengths without overdoing it. And if you've seen the cartoon, Cruella de Vil is like nuts. This chick is wild and crazy, you know, again, similar to like kind of a Harley Quinn. I think that Emma Stone has the right look. Like, she's beautiful, but then at the same time with her eyes and her facial expressions, she can really pull that emotion out. So she's writing a super thin line of like batshit crazy to, I'm gonna make you really feel sad and sorry for me. And you're like, I don't really know where to go. So I don't honestly know like anybody else. I mean, hindsight's 2020. We've seen the movie, so we know how well she did. But I don't really know anyone else that I think could have played that role in particular without seeming like it was forced
or corny
or
in a way,
or some shit like that. So I think that like Emma Stone, perfect casting. She was amazing. You know, a lot of old school Disney movies are musicals. This is not a musical. I'm glad they didn't try to go the musical route. I feel like earlier this year, or was it 2020 with Mulan? That was 2020, huh?
Yes, that was
Mulan was a big fail. You saw my review on this channel. That was a terrible movie to me. But this movie I felt had the right amount of like, you know, female empowerment. It had the right amount of like, you can do anything you put your mind to.
Yeah.
It had the right amount of like, you know, underdog story, but with the right amount of like raw, grimy, sinister acts. You got to see the movie. This shit. I'm surprised it Disney.
It literally had like the classiness of A Devil Wears Prada with the griminess of Birds of Prey. Literally like melded into one movie.
But also, talking about that, Disney. I mean, some of the things that jump off in this movie, are you surprised that, I don't remember what movie.
I don't know if I would take my young children to see this movie.
I think it's okay for young kids. I think it's okay for young kids, but I think if you're a punk parent and you don't really educate your child on some stuff, like,
if your kids are mature children,
I'll say if they're a little bit more mature, if your child's trying to hold on to a little bit of innocence, maybe this ain't the one for the kids. But I think like, you know, 10, 11 and up, I think they can handle it for sure. I mean, it's nothing like, you know, too outside the lines of Disney, but
unless you're his child, then probably at like 5 years old.
Definitely doing it, yeah. But I think like again, you never saw Maleficent. There's some more like themes in those movies that I think are a little bit raw. I mean,
even Harry Potter gets pretty dark.
Look at Beauty and the Beast. This chick's like making love to a dog. You know what I'm saying? That's bestiality.
Well, adults think that, not children. They just say, "Oh, love."
They gonna be in the kitchen on the kitchen floor with the dog. You better watch out. So, but no, I think that this movie was great. Definitely take the kids to see it. I'll probably take my mom to see it. My mom loves all the Disney movies, so I know she's really looking forward to this one for sure. So from the Greens, I think we give it like a 2 thumbs up. I'm definitely going to purchase this one on Blu-ray.
Yes.
I thought Disney came in hot with this one, but Cruella was super legit. Hell yeah. 3, 2, 1. Let me clap.
Okay.
All right. 3, 2, 1. All right. So now we're going to break down A Quiet Place 2. Now, straight off the top, I've been waiting for this movie for damn near 2.5 years. Whenever they announced, first of all, after I seen the first one, I was like, holy shit, this movie's amazing. Now, real quick, what'd you think about the first Quiet Place film?
I enjoyed it.
Oh,
But
really? I thought you was really feeling it, but you enjoyed it. Expand.
the first, well, we won't go too. I enjoyed it for what it was.
Okay.
I'm not normally a alien movie fan, but it was like a alien slash suspense horror, so it drew me in.
Okay.
And I like Emily Blunt
Mm-hmm.
and John Krasinski.
Right.
So, but I don't. It was entertaining, but not a movie that I was like, oh, I can't wait to see A Quiet Place too.
Now, the fun part about this one is we seen Cruella on Thursday night, talked all about it on the way home, all that sort of stuff. We had a little bit of day and a half or so to let it marinate in the mind. Right now, it's Friday, and we literally just got out of the film. So I said, hey, save everything you got to say about A Quiet Place 2 for when we jump onto the review. So right now, I'm about to hear all these thoughts straight off the get. But also the thing is I was assuming that this chick right here was hella feeling the first one. So now that I know she just enjoyed it, I'm really interested in what she gonna have to say about this one. Now, like she said, Quiet Place 2 is very quiet, right? Or Quiet Place 1 is very quiet. Some aliens come. They really hearing the sounds and everything like that. People's running, they're hiding. We don't know how many people are still alive in the world. It's just John Krasinski, Emily Blunt, their kids. They got a deaf daughter and all that sort of stuff, right? So Quiet Place 2 pretty much starts with like a little bit of a prequel. Kind of shows when the aliens first get there and the mayhem. You see just about all of that in the trailers, so no spoilers there. Then it jumps off to when Emily Blunt and the kids are leaving the house after the end of the first film. I'm not going to tell you if you didn't see it. Go watch that movie. It's great. But they're leaving and they're kind of like on a mission to get to maybe some other village or some other house or whatever because they see this flame off into the distance. So they want to go get some help from these people based on what happened in the first film. So with all that said, this movie is, if you have seen the first one, is very, very similar to the first film, right? They're trying to be quiet. The monsters are trying to get them. There's a lot of suspense. This movie is very similar. You're not going to get that much different. But what I will say that to me made this movie a fantastic sequel was the attention to detail. Right? In this film, there's things that you see in the first movie, and they kind of either go by these things in the prequel, so you're like, oh snap, like that's the same grocery store that the first movie started out in, or whatever. Or they'll go by a certain area of the town or the village, and you're like, oh, I remember that from this and that. But when you see it in this movie, it's definitely completely different because it's kind of taken in a different light. So I really enjoyed that attention to creative detail from John Krasinski. The other thing that I thought was super legit is what John Krasinski did in the first one was great film directors don't necessarily tell you what's about to jump off. They don't spoon feed you. They just kind of like let it play out on screen, right? So, for instance, when, again, if you haven't seen the first one, they lose a family member. And you kind of see it in the trailer, so it's not too big of a spoiler.
Yeah.
You know what? Fuck you. You should have seen this movie by now. So if you didn't see the first Quiet Place, then that's on you. Okay? They lose their son. We see it in the damn trailer. And it plays out early in the first film, okay? So when they do, though, the way that he directs with the camera to show that stuff jumping off is very suspenseful. It's very terrifying. It's very scary. They do a lot of that in this movie with a certain scene when they're hiding out. They keep using like, you know, this watch for stuff and they never tell you specifically what it's for. You just kind of have to be a forward thinking person to be like, oh, okay, I get it. This is why they're using the watch, you know? And I thought that was super legit. It definitely kept me entertained, involved in the film and always wondering like, you know, are they going to have enough time for this or enough this for that? And I don't want to spoil too much of it, but are they going to have enough of what they need to survive in these certain situations? Right? Now, I can see the smile. She want to say something about it. So what do you think?
The only thing I was thinking was I clearly am not forward thinking because I did not catch
You didn't
why
catch
they're
that?
using the watch.
For reals? The entire time? Are you kidding me? I'm laughing because there's a specific moment when you have to put two and two together. I'm always telling this girl to think fourth dimensionally, right? The great Doc Brown from Back to the Future. You got to think fourth dimensionally, babe. You know? There was a very specific time, but it's okay. It's okay.
Okay, well.
It's okay. Were you falling asleep a couple times? I thought
Listen,
I
I had a long day at work today, so.
I see her kind of, she's like, I'm awake.
Well, it's quiet.
It's a very
and
quiet
slow.
film. It's a very quiet film. We watched it at one of the theaters with the nice reclining seats, but in their all reality, it's very similar to the first movie. There's some new areas that they go, some new elements. Cillian Murphy is in this film. He played Scarecrow in the Chris Nolan Dark Knight
Oh,
trilogy.
that's where I know him
That's
from.
where he's from. He
Yes.
also was in Wes Craven's Red Eye with Rachel McAdams.
Yes. Yeah.
Every time I see Cillian Murphy, I love that guy to death. He's great. I think one of the first movies I ever seen him in was a little movie. I think it was I can't remember the name off the top of my head right now, but it was called Sunshine, where he's trying to like reignite the sun and save the world or whatever. But he's fantastic every time I see him. And John Krasinski is amazing in the first one. Cillian Murphy kind of takes up that role of the male figure that's going to help the family out in this movie, and he's got his own issues going on, and they introduce him real well in the beginning of the film. So then when he's kind of like tasked with the job of like, all right, do I help him out? Do I not help him out?
That was very subtle. I like how they kind of, he was in the beginning, you're like, I don't know why. Like, there's obviously a significance to him. I don't know why, but they're obviously focusing on him for some reason.
Yeah.
So I did like how they kind of brought him in, and you're like, oh, okay, like there's a connection there.
And they give his character a little bit of inner turmoil. Again, not going to spoil it, but his character has significant connections to this family, and they give him like that inner turmoil that he is wrestling with himself. Like, do I help him out or do I not help him out? Do I even let him know who I am when we run and cross paths with each other? So I liked all of that dynamic, and I think without I can't remember the name of the daughter, but the chick that's playing the daughter, she's really deaf, and she does an amazing job again. The son, he's great with what he has to do, and
the baby
was great, being a baby, not crying too much, crying as babies and stuff. But yeah, I thought every character had something significant to do. I didn't think that anybody was in a situation that wasn't realistic. There was sometimes in any scary movie, in any thriller, you're always going to be pissed off at one character that leaves the group or another character that goes into that one room. You're going to be like, why the hell would you do that? But that's our job as an audience to know you shouldn't do that shit. It's their job as a character is to keep us entertained by going into those damn rooms. So
I didn't really feel like that happened a ton in this movie.
It didn't happen a ton. That's what I'm saying. It didn't happen a ton, but I always say, sometimes when people say like, oh, well, why did they do this and why did they do that? I usually say like, oh, well, then there wouldn't be a movie if they didn't.
Yeah.
Right? So it was kind of a situation like that where like, if someone didn't do a certain thing that they weren't supposed to do, then we wouldn't really have A Quiet Place 2 for the most part. You know what I'm saying? It literally would have just been them hanging out in the warehouse. That's about it.
That was like half the movie.
Yeah, but hella good though. I thought
you didn't think it was slow at all?
So because the first Quiet Place was very quiet, and they're building into the fact of like, the sign language and how the kids are afraid to talk and where is it safe to do this and where is it safe to do that? How do we walk around? This movie I felt wasn't slow because as soon as they get to a certain location and there's a certain thing that jumps off that lets them know, hey, there might be other people out there that we can link up with and maybe be able to get through this. Now they're on that mission. So as a good suspense thriller, this movie takes you on that mission and it gives you some suspense. It gives you some thrills. It gives you some like, what's lurking around that corner stuff, which you got to take your time. And this movie, I say, was a slow burn and took its time when necessary. She will probably say it was boring AF.
I didn't think it was boring AF. I think with the first movie, I enjoyed it. I liked it. I didn't think it was amazing or like, oh, I can't wait to see the second one.
It was amazing.
But it was entertaining enough. But I feel like it drew me in more because, it's the first one. So it's like, you don't know why. Like, the story's still unfolding. Like, how can they maneuver around their little town now? How quiet do they have to be? Like, you're still figuring these things out, so you're drawn in because the story's unfolding before your eyes. Now it's A Quiet Place 2. You kind of know what the deal is. They have to be quiet or else this alien's gonna come out and get them. So I just felt like the little prequel to like how everything started was nice, but then once that happened, it was just, I felt like I was sitting there and I felt like the movie took forever to like get started. Like, it didn't draw me in as much because I kind of knew why they were doing what they were doing and what was happening. And because it's such a quiet movie, it just, I did doze off a couple of times because I was like, oh, okay, where is this going? I felt like it was a little, I don't want to say all over the place, but the ending for sure was good the way that it ended, and it kind of came full circle, but it just took a while to get there. And the only thing that kept me like drawn into the movie was the music and the suspense and the jump scares because it's so quiet.
Right.
But if it wasn't for that, I would have been asleep in the chair.
I will have to admit, I really, 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 really like this movie. I think it was really great. I thought it was a great sequel, but I will admit 1,000% I agree with you. I agree with you. Probably one of the only reasons why, like, or not one of the only reasons, but the main reason why I feel the way I feel about it is because I am like a cinephile like that. I like sound design. I like how the sounds fade in and out. When it's his daughter going through something, there's like no sound. Or it's like if she has her hearing aid, it's muffled sound. But if she loses her hearing aid for that moment, it's like completely silent. But then when she reconnects with someone who has hearing, the sound comes back. So I enjoyed those small little details. And like I said, the reveals of certain things here and there. So because I pay so much attention to film, that kept me on the edge of my seat more than you, which is fair because it is a slow burn. So I definitely agree. She's not fronting. It does take a little bit of while to get going. So if you're not the type of person that's like me, paying attention to those really minute details and being drawn into the story with if that's not going to do it for you, then yeah, this is probably just going to be a type of movie. But if you are super duper captivated and you just want to be more in the world and see a little bit more of the before and a little bit more of the here and now after they've left the house from the first film, I think you're still going to enjoy this movie. But, you know, maybe get some coffee before you go see it.
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
Yeah. But, hey, look, we just broke down Cruella. We just broke down A Quiet Place 2, at least the best way we could with a candid conversation. I think both these movies are great. I think you should check both of them out in the theater. Quiet Place 2, I definitely suggest you check it out in the theater, even though it is a slow burn and even though it is a quiet movie, because if she felt the way that she felt in the theater, you ain't never gonna get through this movie at home. And you ain't never even gonna have an opportunity to notice the subtle nuances that make the film great, at least in my eyes. Now, how do you feel about checking it out in the theater, or who's these movies for? Who do you think?
Are we talking about just A Quiet Place or both of them?
So kind of sum them both up. Like your
I
final
would
thoughts
say Cruella for sure see in the theater.
Definitely.
Hands down, even if it's on HBO Max. I feel like if you had to choose between which one,
Disney Plus.
Disney Plus,
Disney
not
movie.
HBO Max. I would say if you had to choose between the two, Cruella, for sure. It's just a big movie. It's a beautiful movie. It's a big movie. There's lots of just more things to see, I think, on the big screen that will engage you a little bit more. I feel like A Quiet Place 2, I could easily have sat in the living room with a burger and some wine and enjoyed it with the lights down. I don't really think it requires a big screen, but that's just me. But I thought they were both definitely worth checking out.
Definitely, yeah. So that's our review. All right. Jay Green and the Misses. We're going to be back here again. There's a lot of movies coming out right now, and I'm super excited about them. Is that next week? Conjuring?
Conjuring is next week.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, snap. Conjuring.
And Fatherhood on Netflix.
Have you seen Fatherhood? Is that with
Kevin Hart?
Oh, yeah. Tell them about Fatherhood. We're going to review that one. Tell them.
Fatherhood, a single father trying to raise his daughter. Get the tissues out. It's going to be a tearjerker.
It's based off of a book, right?
I don't know.
I think it is. Anyways, whatever. But have you seen all the Conjuring movies?
Yes, I love them.
And you love them, okay. So maybe we bring you a nice little Conjuring prequel breakdown. Then we break down Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It.
Okay.
Oh, shit. All right, baby. Green Screen Entertainment, we out.